In Genesis chapter 4, we read how Cain slew Abel because his offerings from the soil were not as acceptable to God as Abel's offerings from his flocks. And after some discussions with God, Cain is forced to leave the garden and heads east to the land of Nod, where he meets his wife and has a son named Enoch. When I first read this story in Genesis, I was greatly confused about who the people in the land of Nod were. I also wondered who the tribes were that wanted to kill Cain and why they wanted to kill him. These questions were answered when I read the story in the Urantia Book, an angelic communication. The story as depicted in the Urantia Book explains the events leading up to the murder and why Cain felt the need to go to the land of Nod. It truly is amazing to read this story about Cain and Abel in the Bible, because according to the Urantia Book, this slaying took place over 38,000 years ago. In paper 76 of the Urantia Book, you can read about the deep-seated hatred Cain had for his brother Abel, and how this hatred evolved, and why it terminated in murder. You'll also discover why Abel's sacrificial lamb was considered by some, but not all, to be more acceptable to God than Cain's offerings from the soil. You will also read how Adam and Eve learned about the death of Abel after his dogs brought his flocks home without him. Cain was just 20 years old when he slew his younger brother Abel, who was just 18 when this tragedy occurred. The Urantia Book explains why Cain requested a tribal mark from his mother Eve before heading east to the land of Nod, where he subsequently met his wife Ramona, and together they had a son named Enoch. The Urantia Book also explains who the tribes were that would have killed Cain and why he wanted to go to the land of Nod. If you would like to learn more about Cain and Abel, or the land of Nod, I would recommend reading paper 76 in the Urantia Book. Bye for now.